Hello folks. So most of my videos I'm talking with myself, but in this video my friend's with me today, Kristyan, and I'm going to talk a bit with Kristyan about some of the issues he faces on a daily basis, and there's a whole lot of different reasons perhaps why Kristyan faces this, but I'm not going to put words in his mouth. We're going to do this in the context of an interview, see how Kristyan feels about it, and if he's comfortable we'll maybe upload this at some stage, but at the moment this is just for an experiment. Um, but we're going to speak to Kristyan. Do you want to say hello, Kristyan?
Hello, my name is Kristyan.
We're going to speak with Chris about some of the issues he faces on a daily basis with anxiety, and this is going to be more Kristyan speaking than me actually, so just bear that in mind. Okay, we may as well start. So I'll just, Kristyan, do you want to come a bit closer so that people can... Okay, so Chris, we'll ask some basic questions. Just feel at ease. I should say Kristyan isn't entirely used to speaking in front of the camera in the way I am, so just go easy on him, and we shall begin. So Kristyan, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Is that entirely the truth, Kristyan?
28.
Okay. No, we're just joking. Okay, do you want to give a little bit of introduction about yourself? Not about the anxiety, just about yourself in general. Things you like, where you live, that sort of thing.
I do like going to the cinema. It helps to relax us.
Okay, toward me.
Alright.
Okay.
I do like going to the cinema. It helps to relax us. By myself if I can.
What sort of films do you like seeing?
During the day, so no one can sit, and that obviously helps with anxiety. I like to see usually horror type films, thrillery type films.
It's good at this time of the year with Halloween coming.
I mean, I know they're dead depressing, but actually they excite us a bit. But I do like seeing happy films.
We both like the Final Destination franchise, of course. That's cool. Okay, that's just, we can call that a bit of an icebreaker. So that's Kristyan. Whereabouts you live in the world, just to put it in context
I
for
live
people.
in the northeast of England, Sunderland, in a city called Sunderland.
It's and so do I. You'll have seen that from other videos. Okay, so the next few, that's just a little bit of an icebreaker. Kristyan, just so that you know, the maximum bandwidth is 15 minutes. So if I'm rushing, it's not because that's deliberate. It's just because of the time frame. Okay, so you know this video is about anxiety. Can you tell me as honestly as possible? You don't have to tell me everything, but can you be as honest as possible and tell me, for a start, when did you first start noticing that you have anxiety issues, roughly?
It was back when I was in St Aidan's and I was working at McDonald's.
Just for people watching, what is St Aidan's? Is that
It's
secondary
it's a
school?
secondary school, yeah, at college.
So you were about 17 at that
I was
time?
working in McDonald's and I used to get a lot of horrible customers because I used to work night shift as well. My rota was night shift.
Sometimes drunks, sometimes people,
Yeah, and
certain fights.
I think it was just I think it has been a mixture of them complaints and nasty verbal things that they would say to us on a nighttime shift.
Would that be about your appearance?
I guess it was about my appearance because you know how ready the drunks can get. And it was just really it cut so much that I must have like in my psyche must have remembered it, and and I think it wasn't just because of I'm working in McDonald's. It has been down to past experiences as well. I did get someone did hit us in a taxi queue before. Not didn't provoke
That was quite
anything.
an experience.
Obviously there was no. I didn't provoke anything there. It was just out of nastiness and.
So you would roughly date it back to then. That's just to put that in context. That's about 7-8 years ago, isn't it? Okay. So next question, I guess, would be, can you explain some of the side effects of anxiety? Not so much about the feelings, but the side effects. What sort of things does it make you do? If you want to talk a little bit about that. Not so much about the feeling of anxiety, but how it affects your life. What sort of things it makes you do.
Um, it makes us. It does make us look in the mirror a lot.
Is that a major aspect of it?
Yeah,
okay.
Kind of.
Just sorry to cut you off there, but would you like to speak a bit more specifically about that? Because I've noticed this with other people who have suffered anxiety and some other issues. would you like to speak about the mirror? Basically, how do you feel when you look at the mirror, and why do you do it?
When I look in the mirror, I just want to reassure myself I'm looking okay and like good to go out. If I'm not, then I've got to try and correct myself and make sure that I can get out. But with me looking, how I want to look in me mind,
Does looking in the mirror, does seeing the visual image of yourself help to reassure you?
Sometimes it can do, and sometimes it's
But you
quite
think sometimes it can also
reinforce the
the
fear and
paranoia
the
and
paranoia.
the.
Yeah, yes,
Mm.
it can.
Okay. Now that we're talking about symptoms there, for example, looking in mirrors, and I presume this can affect your daily life. For example, can it affect you in a place of work? Do you think that
Yes,
would
it
have an
does, and
impact?
that's why I see a special advisor.
And
It's
again,
a
you don't have to
disability
answer this, Christian,
advisor.
but
It's due to the mental health.
what is your working status at the moment?
I'm unemployed at the minute,
Yeah, well,
but
I can certainly relate to that, as you know I am as well.
that's due to the problems that I suffer, as well.
Because I know
There were
you've
lots of
worked,
horrible.
you have quite a lot of work experience,
Yeah,
so it's not so much that you can't do work necessarily, but I think the anxiety would impact that. Um, and we're speaking there about working life. What about social life? Does it impact that as well? If you're meeting new people, would you describe yourself, Christian, as a shy person?
yes, I would. Yes, I have. I've always been shy throughout my life, but obviously through the years I've learned to be more social and deal with it more. I had to, really, and I have got a lot of friends, a lot of nice supportive friends like you, like I want to talk
Thanks.
to you. Um, but um, but I think the anxiety does stop us sometimes from meeting new people. Really,
Do you
not
uh,
all the time, not all the
do you
time,
feel when you're
but
in a new social
sometimes.
group, when there's maybe you've been introduced to new people, are you worried about what they'll think about your appearance?
Yes, it's what they'll think about me.
Okay.
Opinions. It sounds silly, but it does.
Okay. And another question related to that. We've spoken about some of the side effects, for example, how it affects your social life, how it affects your work life, the looking in the mirrors. Can you describe now, and this may be the hardest question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but can you describe the actual feeling of anxiety as best and as detailed as possible? Not the side effects like looking in mirrors, but when you get those moments of anxiety, can you go into a bit of detail about how that actually feels?
When I get the anxiety, it's a horrible fear. It's like it's not exactly a panic attack, but it's a fear of just not looking the
Can
way I
you
want to look.
compare that fear to anything? So, for example, is it the
It's
same fear that you would get from maybe skydiving or from maybe holding a dangerous spider? Is it that sort of fear?
Yes, it's kind of, it is as bad as that actually. Yes,
Mm. Yeah,
it's
that's quite serious.
like a death sort of fear as well. That's the what we could, I suppose you could make an example of.
At
Yeah.
those times, do you feel in control or do you feel like it's overtaking you?
Sometimes it overtakes us, but the I make sure with that by, you know looking okay. It's controlled, and everything's okay.
Okay, and at this stage in your life, Christian, you've obviously suffered this for a long time. You've you've made a lot of progress as your friend. I've seen that. Um, and just for people watching, Christian has made a lot of progress. I've noticed in recent years. At this stage in your life, do you feel this is something that you can get over? Do you feel it's a passing phase, albeit a long one? Do you think it's something that you can
I
get
could
over?
get over it, yes.
Okay.
I like to point out as well that if I was unhappy about anything, and
Mm-hmm.
this was regarding, I would I would get surgery. I would get something
Mm.
done.
Yeah, you've mentioned that to me before.
As I because
But
obviously
we've
for my
also sort of
appearance.
debated that that would be a glass half empty approach, in my opinion, because
Yeah,
that would be the more important thing would be getting over your anxiety in your own mind.
yeah.
So I think you look perfectly fine. I'm sure many people watching this would think you look perfectly fine. And I think the issue would be getting over the psychological side of how you see yourself before you do any sort of surgery. Um, but maybe one last question. What would you say to other people suffering from the same issues? Maybe they've had a hard time, they've been bullied a bit, they suffer from anxiety, maybe some more than you, maybe some a little bit less. Would you like to give them any sort of advice, any tips, any, let's say, empathetic experience? What would you say to other people watching this and thinking, I can relate to that guy, I know what he's going through? What would you say to them?
I would just say it, hang in there, and then seek. Actually, you really need to seek some sort of, professional help, like as in counselling. That's or CPN. That's who I go to a CPN,
Just
and she's
so,
very
what
nice.
is that exactly?
It's a psychiatric nurse that comes out to see
Okay.
who's been very nice, and she can actually, obviously, from the doctor, they can, like, see how far your psychological symptoms are in regards to how bad they are or how good they are.
Obviously, in different parts of the world, I just interject there, in different parts of the world, there'll be slightly different procedures. So depending what part of the world you're in, there may be different procedures for that, but we're in the UK, so that's the context here. Okay, Kristyan, thank you for answering those questions. There's a few minutes left, so I was thinking in those few minutes, I'll let you take over. If you want to speak a little bit, just as long as you like, there's 4 minutes left. You can speak a little bit if you want. Anything that's on your mind connected to anxiety. You could speak about anything, maybe point out some things, maybe even say something to the people that give you a hard time. Not that they'd be watching, but just I'll give you a kind of free thing here just to speak a little bit about that anxiety in general. So you've about 3.5 minutes, so just go ahead, say what you want.
I'd like to point out what Nathan's just said, that calling and negative sort of verbal behaviour, that just
Sorry, calling in the northeast means bullying.
bullying,
Yeah.
yes, and that's just it's really bad for the anxiety in it. Obviously, with anyone, I'm sure it's not just people who have anxiety, but obviously it upsets people. But with people with anxiety, it really sort of lasts. It makes it stick in your head. Obviously, because we're more sensitive. Um, I mean, I'm learning, to try and ignore it, but it's still bad. It's not very nice. And I wish the world was a better place, but it isn't. But you've got to really, like, have support. And I'd just like to say as well that I am on tablets for my anxiety as well.
What sort of tablets, Chris?
It's I take risperidone, and that's at night.
Does
and
that help?
That helps with sleep, yes. Um, and they take the edge off the anxiety, but as I say, it's really, it's more psychological, and you really need to see a counsellor. That's what I would stress to anyone.
And you would say to people suffering this that for them not to trivialize it, to take it seriously,
To take it seriously,
because it can impact your whole life,
it
can
can
it?
it can impact your whole life, and people don't understand. So that's why obviously we're making this video. For people to understand how bad it is, how sometimes it's just.
And I think it's also fair to point out, I think everyone at some point in their life gets some sort of anxiety. You wouldn't be human if you never got anxiety about something. The bravest person in the world, the most confident people in the world will get anxiety. The two men going into the presidential race, they would have been anxious before the debates. So everyone gets this, but for some people it's more of an issue than others, just like some other issues. Maybe some people have a drinking problem, a gambling problem. For some people, and I'm not comparing that, but the point I'd like to make is for some people it is more of an issue. So for Kristyan, for example, it may be more of an issue than some people watching this. Other people may have it even more than Kristyan. Okay, so we're running up the time there. Kristyan, I'd just like to thank you for. I think it's quite brave of you to come on camera,
Right.
and I think you've come a long way. And I'd like people watching to know Kristyan has come a long way. He's still got a few issues to get over. But if you're watching this and you've went through a similar experience to Kristyan, um, don't be afraid. Just speak to your friends. Be honest with people as well. I think you'd agree with that,
Yeah,
Kristyan. It's important to be honest in relationships. Don't leave anyone in the dark, because if you do, that's going to make it more complicated for everyone. Just say, look, I have to tell you, I've got this anxiety issue. Um, Is there a general medical name for it, Kristyan? A sort of
It's
umbrella
well,
term?
what I've been diagnosed as having is psychosis.
Okay, so that's related to...
Psychosis is it's like a negative
Just...
thought, negative behaviour.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, people. I've had to cut Kristyan off as we are running out of time. But thanks again, Kristyan. And by all means, we're trying to get this video out to people who maybe have experienced something similar. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you, Kristyan.